Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I'm proud to offer premium wireless for just $15 a month. And I'm proud that we have thousands of 5-star reviews from customers like Dan D. in New York, who writes, "I am satisfied customer. How can this only be $15? He wrote it in all caps. I needed you to feel it, like he feels it. I hope I did that justice, Dan. And I hope that you try Mint too at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com.
Millions of people have lost weight with personalized plans from Noom. Like Evan, who can't stand salads and still lost 50 pounds.
Salads generally for most people are the easy button, right? For me, that wasn't an option. I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. But Noom worked for me.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom user compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
Hi guys, and just before this week's show, which is my 100th show, yay, I would just like to ask you a little bit of a favour. Now, I get a lot of listeners now, and it's growing very quickly, but I would love if some of you out there could please take some time to give me a review, to go on when you're on iTunes or Spotify, jump in, give me a rating. If it's 1 star or 5 star, doesn't matter. You can do it, just tap the little dot on the top of the show in Spotify, and you can give me a rating. On iTunes, you can leave me a written review. It'll just help me get more audience and spread the word more for my show. That's me for now. My begging over. Enjoy the show. This is one of my favourites, actually. I really enjoyed doing this one and researching it. So, enough from me now. I hand you over to Tony. Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones with me, your podcast host Tony Evans, or Heavy Metal Tones as he likes to call himself. This is part 2 of Women in Rock April. It's for the month of April is my celebration, or this show's celebration of women in rock. This week's episode is an interesting one. It was meant to be an interview with a singer, a friend of mine, but she, unfortunately, life gets in the way, and we've had to postpone that interview. It is coming soon, guys. It will happen in April. It has to be, because I want it Women in April. It's Women in Rock Month for April. So I brought this episode that's recording today forward. It is actually technically my 100th episode. Woohoo! Pour myself a whiskey. I'm not really having tea. The 100th episode special will be aired very soon. It's like a part A or part B. I'm just in the middle of finishing recording it. So this is about women producers. Now, record producers, all right? We all know what most of us know what a record producer is. It's interesting, isn't it? In the old days, you'd get the record and you'd open up the vinyl, put the record on the deck, and you'd look at the notes. And often there'd be times when you almost not buy a record because it wasn't produced by a particular person, or you buy it because it was produced by a particular person, right? Sorry. I'm recording this at night time this time around because things happen during the day, and so it's a bit noisy around the house. I apologise in advance. Anyway, so producers. Now, what does a producer say? Let's read the Wikipedia description of producer. Okay, it says here, and I quote: "A record producer is a recording project's creative and technical leader, commanding studio time and coaching artists, and in popular genres typically creates the song's very sound and structure. The record producer, or simply the producer, is likened to a film director and art director. The executive producer, on the other hand, enables a recording project through entrepreneurship, and an audio engineer operates a technology." Very straightforward, right? It says what it says on the packet. It's the person who takes the raw sound of the the artist in the studio, and it sort of bakes it into the finished product that you put on your stereo or in your headphones. It's an interesting part of the studio dynamic, the producer, because some producers, like it says, art directors and will guide the project through to the final finish. Some will be more hands-on and more controlling. Most of the time, you'll see them sitting behind the mixing desk with the engineer, fiddling with the knobs and buttons on their Neve consoles or whichever they're using, and they're sort of making a finished product for the company who's paying for it, usually the record company like EMI or CBS or whoever, who've invested in the product. Sadly though, sometimes it can ruin the album or the song, because it can get overproduced, or they can take away the band's ideas, momentum, and direction. But most of the time that's not the case. Most of the time they're blending all the technologies they know together. Look at the great producers. Look at George Martin for the Beatles. I mean, without George Martin, the Beatles, would they be what they are? No, I don't think so. I don't think they'd be as experimental as they ended up being. Same with Rick Rubin. I mean, the amount of people he's had his fingers on the controls of, creating arguably the most expensive album ever produced, which is Def Leppard's Hysteria. Again, massively overproduced, but produced otherwise. Still a lot of technology, a lot of stuff going on, because a producer will often hear things that the band doesn't, layering and textures. It's like sewing a patchwork together. It's like building a Lego building block, like a plastic house of Lego bricks. You have to see how you're going one at a time to see where it will finish and how it will finish. Having that future, like, forward thinking. Now, as I said, as this is Women in Rock Month, you're saying, Tony, what's this got to do with women in rock? Well, it has got a lot to do with it, because we all have our favourite female singers, guitarists, bass players, drummers, whatever, out front making the art. But very few of us actually think about the behind the scenes twiddling the knobs, and punching the numbers in and directing the bands in the direction that they need to go. It is very much you get this image, don't you, of 70s production room, like studios with, guys with thick rimmed glasses and corduroy jeans and a big pipe and, smoke it, and it's very masculine. It's a very masculine environment. And do you know what? It's 2023 and it's still quite like that. I mean, you can, alternate the thick rimmed glasses for some nice fancy lightweight Ray-Bans and some, light jeans and a t-shirt. It's still the same thing. There's still a very masculine environment. Now, of all the music produced in the world, and this is going to shock you, and it shocked me quite a lot when I read this, only 2% of all music produced at this moment is produced by females. Now, if you think about it, that we share this planet equally, in equal portions, where we try to, only of all the musical art that is produced, the millions and millions of hours every single week and hundreds of thousands of minutes every single day that's produced and recorded and released, only 2% of it is produced by women. That really shocks me, because like anything else in life, they are as equal they are equally as creative as they are as the rest of us, as everyone else. Masculine, feminine, pronoun, whatever they, whatever you choose your gendered pronoun to be, you're equally as creative as each other. It is sad. Like, I've got a quote here. Excuse me, I'm going to flick through some notes I took. It quite shocked me. Here we go. It says, Okay, where am I here? So Wendy Page remarked, now she's an industry professional, the difficulties are usually very short-lived, she says. Once people realise, and let's put people as in men, realise that you can do your job, sexism tends to lower its ugly head and leave the room. When tasked to explain her professional sex disparity, Page apparently reasoned that recording labels dominated by men have been, she said, mistrustful of women giving the reins of an immense creative project like making a record. Ultimately, the reasons are multiple and not fully clear, although predominantly proposed factors include types of sexism and scarcity of women role models in the profession. And there you go. So what she's saying is that once you get your foot under the door, and you can prove what you do, they're going to say, oh yeah, no worries, come on, Wendy, come on, you make art with us. The sad thing is that you have to do that. Whereas male producers, probably just turn up, I'm not just saying any old man gets off the street and says I can produce a record, but I'm sure they don't use as much cynicism as she's trying to say there. There is thinly masked sexism, of course there is. That's everywhere in life. We'd have to be absolutely stupid to think that there's some kind of utopia that in music we don't have that. This is not the case. There are a lot of female producers that produce their own music, though. Kate Bush, Madonna, Mariah Carey, Janet Jackson, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, to name a few. Lordi. There are some really clever women making their own art. But being in control of your own art is completely different to being let to be in control of someone else's art. If you're powerful enough like Madonna or Kate Bush or Mariah Carey, one of those ones I just mentioned, if you turn to the record label and say, look, we don't need to pay a producer, I can do this, we'll save some money on that, they'll go, oh yeah, wow, okay, Madonna, yeah, no worries. But it's when you then try and say, I want this particular female producer, and it's going to cost me this amount of millions or this amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's going to take this amount of time, that they were going to go, well, but we've got Rick Rubin and we've got, all these other people. No, there are, and that's where the problem lies, right? It really, it's quite damning here. No woman producer has ever won a Grammy for production since 1975, and only one ever has been nominated for record that's not her own, and that's Linda Perry in 2019. Now, is that not also people of the music world, loving world, a crying shame? I can't believe I'm sitting here in 2023 in my little corner of Australia with my mug of tea and my notes, having to tell the world this is a crazy thing, but it really is. But there are out there people beavering away making great music. They're just not in the spotlight. They're just not being shouted around. And what I'm going to talk about in the second half is on research, an unbelievable character which I really would like to read more. She's written a book. I'm going to try and get hold of it and read it. But her not only is her catalogue of bands and albums and songs that she's worked on unbelievable, varied and amazing, but she's also been there, done that, bought the biscuit, drunk the tea, bought the t-shirt, right? So I just would like to say out to all you women and females, young girls, women, whoever listening to this show, if you are listening to the show, and I do have quite a high female audience, I hope that you do hold those ambitions, and I hope you do go beyond the underground scene and get yourself onto a major label and a major. Now, I know that production is changing dramatically with digital production, and production now has done a lot, during COVID and after COVID now in, isolation. You're not doing it in rooms with, old days where the band would sit around, googly-eyed at the producer going, what are you doing to my music? And him show them one thing and they go, well, that's amazing. Can you do more of the same? I hope that that you do get to sit. I mean, I don't know honestly where you'd go to learn these days. I'm sure there are universities that do music production courses, that aren't just lip service, because let's be honest, some of them are just lip service. You turn up, do the course, pay them exorbitant amounts of money, you learn what you can at the time because technology changes so quickly, and then you go into the real world and they go, no, sorry, you don't have any experience. Like a lot of things, when I was in the film industry, it wasn't what you know, it was who you know a lot of the time. I got a lot of jobs because I was in special effects, as you might all know. I got a lot of jobs through word of mouth, not by my piece of paper that I had in my hand. So sometimes, I knew a woman back in the UK, a friend of mine, Renata. I haven't spoken to her a very long time, but she was a lovely, lovely woman. And her sister, Luciana, they both were music. They were both in the music business. Renata and Luciana. Luciana was more your studio based, and Rini was more just really into the music scene, gigging and with all the bands, and knew a lot of the punk bands in the late 70s and early 80s and so on. But Luci worked in a recording studio in Kingston upon Thames, I think it was, and she really, she was quite pioneering, because she would just stay back for hours and hours and learn and absorb. And I don't know. I know she had a child just before I left, so I don't know the UK. So I don't know if she still is doing that. But I'd love to think that deep down there she is, hands on a desk, moving those levers around and creating some interesting and exciting production. Because, like I said at the beginning of the program, the producer is really important. We have all heard albums where the production is terrible, where it's mixed off, mixed badly. I mean, Iron Maiden famously don't like their first album. They think it's poorly mixed. I mean, Marillion's Fugazi on first release was what they thought was poorly mixed, and the reissue they did last year, the mix is amazing and it's fixed it. And I suppose retrospectively, if you've got the tapes, you can fix them. If you haven't got the tapes, you can't. When I went to see Stephen Wilson a couple of months ago in London, doing a talk about his latest album, a compilation album, I've talked about it before. They were talking about how New Order, they want to do some New Order, the early New Order albums, but they can't because they can't get the original tapes to remix them, because no one knows where they are. The point being is that it would be lovely to think that there is someone out there, Luci's out there creating great art. But back to the producer, as I said. So I got sidetracked because my little cat was scratching at the door and I didn't let her in. We've all heard the records that are badly produced, haven't we? I know I've put ones on and thought, my God, it sounds like the band's made this in a bathtub, or there's the room sound is so awful, or the mix or the separation is too great, or there's too much bottom end, or there's too much bass, or like I was listening to a guy's mix the other day of a local band, and the drums were so poorly mixed that the cymbals, honestly, it was like, I can't hear the singer. Let's turn everything up because the singer's got a terrible voice, or they don't trust the singer's voice, so they turned everything up to like 10, and it was just produced so poorly that when you see them live, you go, yeah, that cannot be you. And I didn't say anything to them at the time because I don't want to be disparaging. I mean, again, I'm not the one in front of the mic, and I'm certainly not the one behind the desk. I'm just a schmo that likes to listen to music and chat about it. But we all know that. So I think what happens, is that they're too scared, as I said before, that they're too scared about splashing cash or giving the reins over. But as you'll find out in the second part, this particular lady is undoubtedly, I would have to say, after reading her resume and reading about her, and you're going to find out probably one of the greatest female producers of them all, and she's like still going, and it blows my mind. And I can't wait to delve more into her history and actually listen to more of her stuff. A lot of the stuff that she's produced I have heard, a lot of it I wouldn't listen to normally, but I would definitely have a listen and see if there's a trait to her music. Like, if you do listen to a lot of Rick Rubin stuff, I've mentioned him before only because he's probably the most famous rock producer in the world at the moment. If you listen to Rick Rubin stuff, he does have a signature sound. The stuff he's done with Slayer, the stuff he's done with a lot of the big metal bands, and particularly with Def Leppard, he has this sort of, he has this sort of, it leaves this sort of residue, oral residue, if that's the right word. You can sort of see his fingerprints in the production, which is not a bad thing, because he bloody knows what he's doing, right? It's just a case of, I said, with like people like Lucci and listeners out there in the audience, I really would love to think that you go away from this show and go, Tone was right, I could do that, and I don't know. I mean, I have read stories about producers, and I mean this, and I can't actually read music, right? I can play tablature, and I'm a musical person, but I can't read written music, and I don't know if a lot of producers generally do or not. Actually, I don't know if that's a trait that is necessary. It probably needs to be. Those who can reach out and tell me that know more. I mean, I think it's more about the understanding. I think the music should be left to the musicians. You know what I mean? Let them worry about what note goes where, and the producer should know then what layers, what and where do we put the mics, and where do we. Well, that's an engineer, I suppose, but he's still part of it. How many layers of this guitar solo are we going to have? When do we fade this vocal in? Do we fade that vocal out? At what tempo should this beat come in, and when should this come into there? And ultimately, of course, it lays with the band, right? But the producer, being the producer, is still. It's still. I think they often will, as I said before, just make and break an album. And I've got a couple where I can't stand the production on it, and I think to myself, really, what were you doing? And then you hear the remix of it, and you're like, well, I mean, that's really bloody obvious. It's like any of the Stephen Wilson remixes. If you listen to any of the remixes done by Stephen Wilson for any of the classic stuff, all the Jethro Tull, Marillion, he only did Misplaced Childhood, but he's done so much stuff. Kate Bush, and you name it, he's done it. It's just phenomenal what he can do and what he can hear beyond what the band can hear. And I think this lady that you're going to talk about in a minute does exactly the same thing. So I'm going to go and refresh my tea. The adverts are going to come up. Might sell you some, large prophylactics, as the Pythons would like to say. Probably not. It's probably going to be home insurance and knowing my demographic, funeral plans. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'll talk to you on the other side, and we'll be talking about this fantastic woman when I get back. Bye for now, guys.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. It's hard to believe that inflation is still a thing, but boy, it sure is. And that's exactly why Mint Mobile still gives you premium wireless for just $15 a month. Well, it's also because we have that offer printed on, like, 1 million t-shirts, but it's mostly the inflation thing. So give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com.
Finding your perfect home was hard, but thanks to Burrow, furnishing it has never been easier. Burrow's easy-to-assemble modular sofas and sectionals are made from premium, durable materials, including stain and scratch-resistant fabrics. So they're not just comfortable and stylish, they're built to last. Plus, every single Burrow order ships free right to your door. Right now, get 15% off your first order at burrow.com/ACAST. That's 15% off at burrow.com/ACAST.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. It's hard to believe that inflation is still a thing, but boy, it sure is. And that's exactly why Mint Mobile still gives you premium wireless for just $15 a month. Well, it's also because we have that offer printed on, like, 1 million t-shirts, but it's mostly the inflation thing. So give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com.
As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, guys, to Heavy Metal Tones Part 2, Women in Rock, Episode 2, Producers. Now, as we said in the first part, we were having a chat about bemoaning the chat about the fact that there's not enough women in production. This part is about someone who's a winner, in my opinion. This is someone who should be on everyone's lips in rock music, and I'm surprised it's not. Now, those in the know probably do those like into production. Well, yeah, of course we know who that is. She was new to me, and it surprises me, and I do love learning something new. So I'm talking about Sylvia Lenore Massey. Okay, Massy. Now, she's an American record producer from Flint, Michigan, USA. She's been active since 1985, so been producing since 1985. She is a triple platinum selling producer with bands like Tool, System of a Down, Johnny Cash, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and so on. Okay, Massy's first project was in the mid-1980s as a producer, engineer, and mixer for a compilation album titled Rap Music for Rap People Volume 3. I sort of vaguely, in the back of my mind, seem to know that, and I don't know why. Raw Power, and of course Doggy Style, very good name in my opinion, and Mojo Nixon. She followed this with producing the punk band Verbal Abuse for Boner Records, engineering 2 projects for metal band Exodus. So she also, she's got a metal connection there, which is amazing. And co-producing the Sea Hags. Now, the Sea Hags are important. Why? Because they are Kirk Hammett's independent band. A young Kirk Hammett was in the Sea Hags while he was finishing Masters of the Puppets with Metallica. So, pretty amazing, really. And they also produced Television Drug of a Nation by the Beatings, the former band of the Disposable Heroes of the Hypocrisy. So pretty big names, okay? Towards the end of the 1980s, Massey moved from San Francisco to Los Angeles and worked at Tower Records on Sunset Boulevard. Ever remember Tower Records? Good, I do. I loved it. At Tower, she met the members of a Buffalo, New York band named Green Jello, to be known as Green Jelly. Again, I don't know them. This is stuff I'm going to delve into. And recorded the debut album after becoming a staff engineer at Laura B. Sound in West Hollywood. She was hired by Zoo Records, or BMG, to produce Green Jello's major label debut album, which featured members of the Los Angeles group called Tool. So this is pre-Tool, right? How fantastic is that? On Green Jello's Serial Killer album. Wow. Tool's Maynard James Keenan sings on Three Little Pigs, and Tool's drummer Danny Carey plays on the album. This began a relationship with Massey that would see with the band for many years. So straight away, again, connections, but you have to be brave. You can see where the route comes, though. She's coming in through the independent, punky, underground scene of America. Again, thank goodness to punk. Thank you very much, because we get these breaks down the barriers, breaks down the walls. Otherwise, probably wouldn't have had her here. Pardon me. Then she moved from Los Angeles. She's in Los Angeles and Laura B Sound. She produced or mixed on recordings from artists including Aerosmith. Again, I don't know. It doesn't say when you research what albums they're on, but I'm sure if you research this particular band, you would find the album that she's on. Babyface, Big Daddy Kane, Bobby Brown, Prince, Julio Iglesias, or as the... do you remember when... You're probably too young, listeners, but when the Goodies used to have... I used to have a Goodies record live at the Cricklewood Shakedown, and they would do Julio Double Iglesias, or Charles Has No Voice. Brilliant. Seal, one of the biggest selling single artists of all time. Skunk Anansie. Now, Skunk Anansie is really interesting because a friend of mine did stuff on their first video with Skin, the lead singer. Very, very, very fun times. Paul Abdul, my God, again, in the late 80s, mid 80s to early 90s, you don't get much bigger than Paul Abdul, and many more, right? So interesting. And then, so she's already sort of, getting her foot under the door. She's getting lots of this, fantastic experience happening. Sorry, flippy paper. That's me with my notes, okay? And then she goes from 1994 to 2001. Massey's vintage Neve 8038 console, that's the mixing desk, and her other specialised recording equipment occupies Studio B at Sound City Studios in Van Nuys, California. Now, Sound City, again, those that are big Dave Grohl fans will know about Sound City because he made a film called Sound City, and in the background you can see her Neve 8038 console. Besides Massey's own work at Sound City, several other successful projects were recorded on Massey's equipment during the years, including albums by Sheryl Crow, Queens of the Stone Age, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, Smashing Pumpkins, Lenny Kravitz. Crazy again. So she's left a Neve desk, and these desks, as I said at the beginning of the show, like a guitarist, a guitarist lives or dies by the quality of his guitar, his instrument in his hand, right? The same with recording desks. Neves, those are it's Neve 8038. Those are music nerds like myself would get rather attracted, rather aroused around a Neve mixing desk. They are the best, in my opinion, and often if you look at great studios, that the desks that things are recorded on, you make a massive difference. When they were recording Wayne, Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, they had two 24-track desks, and they connected with this new machine that these English guys had invented. It was only one studio in London, and it would often break down, but it had never done before. It was when you could copy 20, so you could get 48 tracks. Now tracks or things are endless, but then that's amazing. If you think about 48 tracks, that's like you could quadruple your guitar sound. You could do more. You could add more and more depth. It's a pretty amazing thing. Anyway, so Massey engineered and mixed several projects for producer Rick Rubin. He comes back into this conversation, okay? Rick Rubin, for his American label American Recordings, okay? And he's had a lot of labels as Rick, including Johnny Cash's album Unchained, which won a Grammy Award for Best Country Album in 1997 with Rubin. She also recorded Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Slayer, Donovan, The Black Crowes, Danzig. My mate Matt always sends me great memes, and he sent me a great one, and it's Danzig upside down, and it's got Danzig on the ceiling, which does make me laugh. And System of a Down's debut album. Now, again, I'm not a System of a Down man. I don't do it for me. It leaves me cold. Those out there love it. Great on you. Wonderful. Brilliant. I deliberately ignored them at Soundwave because I was just like, I just can't do that kind of sound. It doesn't. And unfortunately, I think because of my age, when that stuff was coming through, it was a bit too, at that time, I mean, maybe I should go back and give it a go, but it doesn't really do it for me. And in the 90s, Massey produced material for Red Hot Chili Peppers, Seven Dust. And the one that really stands out is in 1997, Massey mixed the Beastie Boys' Tibetan Freedom Concert in New York with Adam Yauch. God, my wife will kill me for pronouncing this wrong. Adam Yauch, and producer Pat McCarthy. Sorry, Beastie Boys fans, I pronounced it wrong. Anyway, I believe that Adam is now sadly gone. I'm right, yes. MCA died in May the 4th, 2012, age 47. That's really a sad thing because the Beastie Boys are one of the most important bands in probably of the 20th century, actually, along with the Pistols and so on. But they were one of those seminal acts that changed music, and whether you like it or not, they fucking well did, and we'll leave it at that. And so after that, she went to Radio Star Studios, right, and then became international. That's this woman. What a resume. Okay, so starting in 2001, Massey owned and operated Radio Star Studios out of, now, unfortunate, of the Weed Palace Theatre. Now, I originally read that and thought, what's this? But there's a place called Weed in California. And it operated in a recording studio for 11 years, with notable clients having been Sublime, Dishwalla, Swore 360, Cog, Spiderbait, Australian Spiderbait. In fact, I think she produced Oh Black Betty, Bam a Lamb, Norma Jean, Built to Spill. I mean, lots of this stuff that really, and that she got with Black Betty, she reached number one in Australia's ARIA chart in 2004. Cogs, the new Normal album, received an Australian Triple J award in 2005. I mean, so some really interesting international acts. I mean, Australian acts. She produced Metropolis by Segmens, which reached number 4 in Norway. It's a Norwegian act. Again, don't know them very much. Juno, which is one of my daughter's favourite bands, nominated a platinum sales status for their Devil That You Know album. It's incredible stuff, really. And it just goes on. It goes on. And in the 2000s, she wrote a regular column in Mix magazine called Gear Stories, which discussed vintage recording equipment versus modern equivalents. She wrote an essay about Thomas Edison's contribution to the recording industry, which was included in the official Grammy Awards program in 2011. Massey co-founded the 4 and 20 Blackbird Music Festival. Now, I read into that. It's still going. Which operated for 2 years in downtown Weed, California. The festival drew approximately 7,000 people and featured 250 musical acts. That went, but she then opened up in January. So there is still a festival that goes around, based around that 4 and 20 in America, but under a different name. In January 2015, Massey began to write a book called Recording Unhinged for Hal Leonard. That is the book that I want to read. The book was released in March 2016. Interviews and contributions to the book include Hans Zimmer, Jeff Emmerich, Bob Ezrin, Bruce Whedon, Michael Franti, Bob Clearmountain, Al Schmidt. These are all big names, yeah? Linda Perry, Ross Robinson, Matt Wallace. These are all big names in production and in music, which is really quite amazing. And she also illustrated the book. Well, is there much more that this woman doesn't do, Sorry. Now, moving on from that, not only that, but she's also an educator. So this is an amazing thing. In 2015 and 2018, Massey was a visiting professor at Berklee College of Music in Boston. In 2018, Massey taught a workshop at the Abbey Road Institute in London. In 2016, she lectured at SAE Institute at Audio Engineering Schools in London and Munich. She's presented periodic recording workshops in Dresden at Castle Rohensdorf and mixed with with the masters in Les Studios de la Fabrique in Saint-Mamé in de Provence in France. Sorry if I've butchered any of those German and French names. I don't mean to. So she's done a lot of lecturing. So not only does she produce and has obviously an ear for music, but she's also, and like most great creatives, they want to share their creativity. They don't want to hold it to themselves. They're not selfish with what they give back, and I think that really is, quite something for me. Now, Massey lives in Ashland, Oregon, works out of a private studio. She continues to work as an independent producer, educator, and music promoter. She's appeared on an episode of Pasendo's Palace, an industry video program. I don't know that one, sorry. Massey is a member of the NARAS and has served in the P&E Wing Steering Committee. Again, don't know what that is. And advisory boards in 2009. I'm sure that's a music industry advisory board in America somewhere. She's travelled to Washington, D.C. to lobby for musicians, performers' rights. That's important, again, because we are musicians and performers. I am one of those. We were overlooked, and COVID was a classic example of it. And that's a different story, okay? But in 2015, she mixed for Cage the Elephant and Soilwork. Massive. The latter part of 2015 to 2016, she oversaw production of Avatar's album Feathers and Flesh. Now, they're a weird, funny band, very, very theatrical. Remind me a lot of Killing Joke. Can you imagine? It's like Killing Joke mixed with Clockwork Orange mixed with, how do I describe it? Probably Slipknot. Crazy Europeans, love it. You could check them out. She's also recorded with an all-woman noise band, and I really like them. Thunder Pussy, brilliant name, really fun act. Okay, and she recorded that in an abandoned nuclear power plant, cooling tower. What a fantastic Torpedo of Love, the song's called. I have to say this. I read this, man. This is people thinking outside the box. This is not, just push the knobs here. This is creating art in an environment. She's also done recorded in a retired salt mine in Germany with Sarah Brendel in the underground venue, the Mercus Show Mine. She's recorded the Melvins at the Village Studio in Santa Monica when being filmed by Mix and the Masters. She also produced albums by in Caroline Crush, I don't know that, by the way, Far From Alaska and Dishwalla. Now, Dishwalla, they're pretty cool, I like them. And was hired to rework the recordings of Grey Days, a side project of Linkin Park's frontman Chester Bennington. Again, you don't get called upon by these people and by their families and these companies if you don't have some skill behind you, right? She's also recorded, I love this, it was abandoned, the band the Molotov in the summer of 2018. She gained access to the abandoned London Underground station at Aldwych to record British band Goddamn on the subway platform. How fantastic is that? Because Aldwych, there's a lot in London, as in most major cities that have an underground system. There are a lot of abandoned stations, a lot of ghost stations, and the Aldwych one has been like that for a long time. It's actually haunted. I could talk about stories about it because during the war, that's where a lot of people went when the air raids went off. My mum spent a lot of time down air raid shelters as a young girl, to be protected from the Blitz. Okay, so brilliant and clever, just sort of really, in 2019 she produced a mix of follow-up to Life of Agony, Life of Agony's River Runs Red album, named Sound of Scars. Tracks were recorded at the Studio Divine in Ashland, Oregon. Later in 2019, Massey mixed a solo album for Taylor Hawkins, drummer of Foo Fighters. Sadly, he's gone as well. The album features, sorry, I made all these notes, performers like Dave Grohl from Nirvana, Joe Walsh from the Eagles, Chrissy Hynde from the Pretenders, Leanne Rimes, Nancy Wilson from Heart, Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction, Porno for Pyros, Roger Taylor from Queen, Chris Chaney from Porno the Pyros, and Duff from Guns N' Roses. Amazing. Now, after me giving you a potted history of her life and her products, and me making lots of paper noises, let me just quickly take you through, in the last 10 minutes of the show, a quick rundown of my highlights of her production from 1984 to the modern day. Excuse the paper ruffling. It is sadly I cannot remember this, and I don't have the room to spread it out. Okay, so you start at 1986. I mean, she started in 1984, but I'm just bringing out stuff that you're going to remember. Sea Hags debut album, as we mentioned before. That's Kirk Hammett's side band. Joe Satriani's LP, Surfing with the Alien, assistant engineer. I really love that album. Exodus produced she engineered this particular album. Pleasures for the Flesh, again, one of my favourite Exodus albums. I have that on vinyl. Barbra Streisand, assistant engineer on Broadway, on the Broadway album. Jermaine Jackson. Now, not all these are production, by the way. Some of these are engineering as well. A lot of the early ones are mainly engineering. The Jacksons, 2300 Jackson Street, assistant engineer. Black Crow, Shaker, Moneymaker. Danzig 2, Lucifage, assistant engineer. Spandau Ballet's Heart Like a Sky. Oh, it's a great album. In 1990, Queen, just says Queen, it doesn't say what album, and that's assistant engineer as well. And then Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, OMD, OMD. Can't get my anachronisms right. You know why? Because I don't like anachronisms. I'm anachrophobic. I also don't like raincoats. I'm arachnophobic as well. But we go into that. Seal, assistant engineer. Co-mixed Aerosmith's The Other Side. Prince's Graffiti Bridge. Oh, wow. Ziggy Marley. Live. Kylie Minogue, doesn't say what single. Tom Jones. Kate Bush. These are all engineered, by the way. Prince. She produced and engineered that one. That's Diamonds and Pearls. No, assistant engineer, multi-platinum. Wow, amazing. Prince's remix of Cream. And everyone loves that song, don't they? Carmen Electra. Do you remember Carmen Electra? Everyone, it's one of those names from the past, right? Most young males of my age will know who Carmen Electra was. Tool's EP Opiate, where she produced that. This is when she actually starts to produce. Engineered and mixed. Certified platinum. That's, this is some amazing stuff. That was 1992. Again, I'm not a Tool fan. People know that. Find it rather boring and one-dimensional. That's not to go with her music, and I'm not having to go with her production. It's just the band itself's music, not the production. And this is where she then also, in 1993, she produced Undertow by Tool, Babes in Toyland, the single Say What You Want. Oh, my SFW. Wow, that takes you back. That takes me back to the year I met my lovely wife in 1994. And then Slayer, she produced Slayer's LP Divine Intervention. What a dramatic change. You're going from like Tool and Babes in Toyland and Tom Jones, and suddenly bang, you're at Slayer, the pinnacles of aggressive extreme metal of the 90s. Skunk Anansie again produced the LP Paranoid and Sunburnt. Brilliant album. I have put, no I haven't, I will do it, a Skunk Anansie single on my playlist that comes in correspondence with the show, and if I haven't done it, I'm going to do it, and if I haven't done it, let me know. Then Oingo Boingo, wow, she mixed that. Now I love Oingo Boingo. I'm not going to say who they are, go and check them out. Donovan, she mixed that one. Donovan's a very, now she produced and then she engineered Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' Climb That Hill. She's the one. She produced, love this, Red Hot Chili Peppers single Love Roller Coaster, Beavis and Butthead American soundtrack. Oh, I fucking hate Beavis and Butthead. I'm going to say it out loud. Also another Red Hot Chili Peppers in 96, One Hot Minute. Deftones, Can't Even Breathe, Escape from LA soundtrack. Fantastic. Sorry if this is being a bit nerdy and going like show by like album by album, but I just want to grab stuff, right? Okay, System of a Down. The System of a Down's first LP, Smashing Pumpkins, Machina 2, The Friends and Enemies of Modern Music, Cooler Shaker. They were real kind of sort of cool Britannia kind of Britpop stuff from the 90s. Big in the UK. Porno for Pyros, Alanis Morissette, Foo Fighters, Blur, Tibetan. This is all Tibetan Freedom Concert, by the way, because this was, as I mentioned earlier, was the one that MCA did So, Beck, Patti Smith, Rage Against the Machine, Smashing Pumpkins, Pavement, Sonic Youth, all those. Reef, one of the biggest bands in the world at one time, Reef, weren't they? The single The Devil You Know, certified platinum. Shows you, doesn't it? If they're one of the biggest bands in the world and she produced that. And then we're getting to the end here. You've got Cog. Again, the new normal. I'd recommend having a listen. Stuff I've never heard of. Fighting Jacks, Lustra, Lollipop, Lust, Kill. That's what System of a Down single. Seven Dust. Again, System of a Down. Marmalade. Melissa Etheridge. Ball People. Again, see, it shows her diversity, right? And I'm just sort of skipping through here. Stuff that my daughter would know. Things like Lax and Busto and Godhead. They were the ones I told you they on the London Underground platform. Johnny Cash. Produced, engineered and mixed, certified platinum, The Legend of Johnny Cash. How great is that? Cog again. And then right down to Spiderbait in 2004 with Tonight Alright LP. Produced, and that became certified platinum. Unbelievable. Again, Goddamn again, Taylor the Melvins, Thunder Pussy. Please, I'm going to link that. You're going to have to listen to that. Pink Grenade with Johnny Depp. If it wasn't bloody Johnny Depp, I'd probably have listened to that. Cage the Elephant. Again, have a listen. And Soilwork, massive Soilwork, right? Of course, stuff after that won't really sort of be relevant to the show, but you understand. Sorry, that was me just rabbiting on. So I'm in awe of this woman. Just her ability to just keep going, because in a world of music that's becoming, I'm sure that she has to learn new techniques and create new ways of recording, and just that catalogue alone, just the engineering that she's done on that, which is, let's be honest, is a thinly veiled description of some of the production. Producers are engineers and some engineers are producers. She may be, miking up things and working about sound, but she's also producing really deep down. I'm sure she is. I'm sure she's pulling the strings, a lot of that stuff. And if you've got a band out there that's looking to get a producer, and you want someone with some nous and you can afford one, why wouldn't you grab, Sylvia Massey? Why wouldn't you? You'd be bloody mad not to. At least to read some of her written works. I guess I'm going to get that book of hers. Certainly am. Now, that will be an absolutely cracking read, I reckon. That's Recording Unhinged, it's called. As I said, I'm sure you can get it on most good book sellers. I'm sure that wherever you are, Amazon or Booktopia or wherever, I'm sure if you ask your local supplier of purveyor of fine books, you could get a copy of it. Or there's probably even an audio book of it on Audible, or there's a digital, e-reader version of it. Whatever way you read your books, I can't do e-readers for other people. It's just too much technology. There's something about analog that it's sweet with bit when it comes to books. Anyway, that's me. That's my praise of a wonderful producer. My sadness that there is only 2% of the music produced is female production. Come on now, we need to fix this balance up, don't we? We just do, and I think we can't do it without shows like this making aware of the fact there's an imbalance. We try and balance up everything else in life, don't we? We try and have fair wages, fair amount of jobs, equal opportunities, no gender, dropping pronouns left, right and centre and all this kind of stuff, and creating level playing fields. Let's do it in our music industry. Why not? I think if only 2% are female, imagine what's out there. It could the art, the wonderful music that we could be listening to, the production values that are being lost because they're not being listened to or not being taken seriously. Anyway, rant over. Go and reach out and have a listen to some of that stuff. Honestly, I'm going to go and have a look at try and find the book, have a read, look up online. I'm sure there's some YouTube videos and interviews with her. I'm going to head there now. That's enough for me. It's getting late, and I've got to go and refresh my cup of tea and record a couple of another episode or two. And I hope you enjoyed part 2 of Women in Rock Producers. Anyway, talk to you on the flip side. Chat for now. See you. Keep safe. Keep rocking. As I said, if you're listening to this and you want to start your own production, go out and do it. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, really. It doesn't. But the point about this show is, yes, let's get more ladies, more women, more young girls, more engineers out there. Let's balance the playing field. Anyway, bye for now.